But when you think about somebody like President Obama or President Clinton, the sock drawer case with President Clinton, they'll point to these and say, listen,
so there are two big lies, I think, that are out there right now. One is, these other presidents took all these documents. Those were situations where they arranged with the archives to set up special space under the management, control, and security provided by the archivist to temporarily put documents until the libraries were ready. These were not people just putting them in their basement, okay?
That was William Barr yesterday speaking to Shannon Bream on the Fox News channel on Fox News Sunday, and what William Barr said there is not true. No, Joe Biden stored classified documents at an office that was purported to be a think tank, which is ironic and funny. You know, Joe Biden think tank. The offices were above a steakhouse at a building that looks at the U.S. Capitol. In a neighborhood that we call Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., Charlie Palmer's Steakhouse is downstairs. Joe Biden's unprotected, unsecured office, not secured by the Secret Service, classified documents there. At his multi-million-dollar home, where did the money go? In Wilmington, Delaware, more classified documents found there, not on hold, waiting to be secured by the archives. That's not true. What William Barr said there is not true, and I'm here to correct it for you because that's my job and that's what I do. Happy Monday to you and welcome. I'm happy to be back in the saddle here in the Mothership studio in Washington, D.C. at WMAL. And I was not here on Friday because I was traveling back from Chicago. On Thursday, I did the big radio broadcast from the WLS studios in Chicago. Beautiful, lovely, very nice studios. They have fancy. Michael, you should see it. They have microphones from the 21st century, and they have all these exciting things. They have, this is under construction here. You know, we're in the midst of updating and upgrading here at WMAL. But in any event, and then a great event with wonderful American listeners in Chicago on Thursday night. And on Friday morning, I flew back to Washington, D.C. aboard a big old jet airliner and got back in time to do my Newsmax show on Friday night, but not in time to do the radio show on Friday day. So like that. And then weekend with my best girl who did not come to Chicago with me, and now back in the saddle. But it was a great WLS event, wonderful people, dinner, and at a great, wonderful country club, and it was great. South Side, just out of the south side of Chicago, and it was really a great time in Chicago. And driving up LSD, Lakeshore Drive, with my brother in his 1966 Bonneville convertible on a beautiful sunny day. And it's Chicago. Nice people pull up next to you and say hello, and nice car and talk to you, and, nice looking women, just saying, it's, and just talking to you like Midwesterners, like normal people. It's very nice. Chicago has its issues. Boy, does it have its issues. Speaking of which, in Annapolis last night, there was Annapolis, Maryland, where my best girl and I spent, was it just last weekend? I think it was just last weekend. We spent last weekend. There was a shooting. 6 people shot. 3 killed, right? 6 people shot, 3 killed. Spat over a parking space in Annapolis, Maryland. Police said that Democrats were responsible for the events there, the terrible events. But we'll get to that. Let's get back to the news, the big news of the day, and that is the indictment of President Trump. President Trump is reportedly going to be headed down to Miami, Florida today, and tomorrow he must appear in court, where he will allegedly be mugshotted and fingerprinted, which the left all over the world loves doing to their political enemies. And that is clearly what's happening here in the United States of America for the first time ever. There is no legal precedent for this. Well, there is, just not in the United States. But if you look in Nicaragua or maybe the Filipinos, then you will find legal precedent under, Ferdinand Marcos or Daniel Ortega, Angel Ortega, because commies do this sort of stuff all the time, all over the world. That's what commies do. But we don't do this sort of stuff in the United States as a rule. Again, the front page, the cover of the New York Post today. Trump was indicted, but what about the Bidens? Joe's garage files merit same scrutiny as Don, says Kevin McCarthy. Also, what Bill Barr said, no. Joe Biden's documents above the steakhouse at the office, that's supposed to be a think tank that's funded by the Chinese communists. No problem at the New York Times. And for that matter, no problem with Republicans in charge of the House of Representatives, who should be having hearings every day with green felt tablecloths and pitchers of water, and should be pounding the table and reinforcing the reality of the Biden family corruption scheme every single day, loudly and publicly. They really need to hire me for $1 million a day to come up there and tell them how to do it. I'd be glad to help, because they clearly need the help. I don't know where all the people are that should be instructing the Republicans in the House of Representatives what they ought to be doing, because this Joe Biden scandal is gigantic, and the Republicans in the House just can't make hay out of it. It's quite amazing. Yeah, so today's cover, Biden laughs off FBI bribery claims as evidence against him and Hunter and the rest of his family mounts and mounts and mounts, and boy, does it. But when you're a Democrat, you can laugh it off because, you got the New York Times is not after you, the Washington Post is not after you, CNN is not after you. They're here to do downfield blocking for you. So Miranda Devine with the story, Biden laughs off FBI bribery claims as evidence against him and Hunter Biden mounts. And Miranda Devine is possibly the world's greatest news reporter right now, most important news reporter. Audacity is Joe Biden's magic power, she writes. When the walls are closing in. The walls are closing in. Have you noticed other people have latched onto we made years ago, the walls are closing in montages and stuff. A lot of people steal a lot of stuff from this show. Isn't that true? When the walls are closing in, he laughs in your face and dares you to come after him. That's a fact. Boy, oh boy. He did it last week when he laughed at a question about damning evidence in an FBI file that he allegedly took a $5 million bribe from a Ukrainian energy company in return for a policy decision when he was vice president. Where's the money? He quipped before calling the allegation a bunch of malarkey. It's malarkey. What century is he from anyway? Another one. Where's the money? Well, let's go look at your $5 million waterfront Wilmington, Delaware home. That's where the money is. Where'd you get the money for that? Are you a famous author? Because he's been making like $180,000 a year for a long time. Not many people have $5 million houses, and maybe he's mortgaged to the hilt. Maybe the newspapers should look into that. That's why you can laugh it off, you see. Forgive us if we don't take the president at his word, because he has lied before about his involvement in the international pay-to-play scheme run by his son, Hunter Biden, and brother Jim Biden during his vice presidency. But his cockiness in the face of mounting evidence before the House Oversight Committee of shady foreign millions flowing into Biden family bank accounts needs to be understood, not only in terms of his personality, but in the content of whistleblower claims about an FBI cover-up. That's the thing. The FBI has had all this information on him since long before he was elected president, long before. In fact, I think it goes back 7 years that the FBI was onto this, and yet the gang of fluffers down at the FBI, they, boy, oh boy, what are they doing? No, everything on Trump, and it's leaked. The leaks from the FBI to the Washington Post and the New York Times are almost constant. With 3 anonymous sources with knowledge of the situation, not at liberty to discuss because it's a felony to tell the Washington Post about it. But that's okay. Pay no attention. Ongoing investigation. If you were frustrated that the Delaware investigation into the president's wayward 53-year-old son has failed to reach a conclusion after 5 long years, you won't be surprised to hear about efforts to derail the case, the Joe Biden case. Now, there is no effort to derail the Biden case, though. Just amazing. Most disturbing are claims by 2 IRS whistleblowers that and these whistleblowers have been buried by the news media and, in fact, attacked by the news media, of course, by the Democrats on Capitol Hill, but that's the same thing. 2 IRS whistleblowers that the Department of Justice has sabotaged the investigation into Hunter's foreign business dealings that has been conducted by Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss since 2018. This is the one the news media keeps lying. Oh, he's a Trump appointee. Yeah, first he was an Obama appointee, and Trump only agreed to pick him because he doesn't have a long list of greedy government lawyers that want the job, first of all. And secondly, because the 2 Democrat senators in Delaware recommended David Weiss since Obama had already appointed him as the acting there. So pay no attention to that. Everything is a lie. Amazing stuff. Those claims were compounded last week when James Comer, the Republican from Kentucky and House Oversight Committee chairman, forced the FBI under threat of contempt charges to show him an unclassified document known as an FD 1023. We should really stop calling things like, by their government designation, FD 1023. I see people on TV casually talking about the 1023 and the FD 1023. Please, shut up, all right? This document detailing allegations by a trusted, paid, longtime FBI informant that Joe and Hunter Biden received $5 million apiece each as a bribe during his vice presidency. And that's not a story. The news media couldn't care less about that. Just extraordinary. Now, President Trump was out over the weekend, and this Jack Smith guy that the news media loves because he's got a rope and a tree and he's on horseback going after Donald Trump. So that's another Democrat Party tradition going way back. And Jack Smith is the guy that targeted the now former Virginia governor and tried to nail him for corruption. And yet what happened was it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled unanimously that Jack Smith's prosecution of Bob McDonald was corrupt and didn't hold, and a unanimous, that never happened, Supreme Court threw out Jack Smith's Republican witch hunt in that case. He's pursued other Republicans as well. I think he pursued one Democrat, John Edwards, remember, who brought his girlfriend along on the campaign plane while he was cheating with her, and the news media couldn't find it even though it was right under their noses. Remember that? What was her name? So many paramours. And so John Edwards, but she was the videographer and he was having sex with her. And the news media kept doing stories on how great he is. His wife is battling cancer and he's such a great husband, even though he's boffing the videographer on the campaign plane that the news media was flying with every day. But they were none the wiser. Shh, mum's the word. You know how they are. Amazing stuff. It's a sleazy town full of sleazy, untrustworthy people. Thank God for me. I kid. But I'm not one of these sleazeball, I'll tell you that much. I'm the most honest man in the world compared to these people. Hey, breaking news for all my fellow Americans. That's you. Joe Biden's dangerous plan to force Americans into a digital dollar. It goes into effect. It goes live in just a matter of weeks. No matter what they say, it's not something that will help you or me. If you don't take action today, it could be too late. The Federal Reserve will be deployed in phases. This is an amazing thing, with the initial launch taking place July 1st of 2023. It's called Fed Now. That's what they call it, Fed Now. Sounds like food, right? It's not. And many Americans are going to be utterly surprised by this. Everything that you've ever worked for is at stake But pay no attention to that. There may be a way for Americans to legally opt out of the digital dollar before it's too late. Time to call my friends at American Alternative Assets. They're going to educate you and me on how we can diversify and mitigate our risk from the failing dollar in volatile markets with gold and silver IRAs. Give them a call at 888-4-GOLD-20. Call them now, 888-446-5360. Don't let Joe Biden force you to use the government's new digital dollar. Call 888-4-GOLD-20. That's right. Call them now, 888-446-5360. Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Yeah, I've got much more. President Trump spoke on the subject, and you'll be surprised to learn what he said has been somewhat controversial. That and more William Barr and more on President Trump and the indictment coming up. Hey, Chris here with some exciting news. Now you can listen to me live on the WMAL app. Doesn't matter if you're in your car, in the office, on the go. The WMAL app delivers crystal clear around-the-clock news coverage anywhere with cell service or Wi-Fi. So don't miss a second of your favorite shows. Download the WMAL app today on the Apple App Store or at Google Play Store. I've got a Tesla story to get to, the transgender Democrat story. Are all Democrats transgender now? It's a fair question, isn't it? Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Wally calling from Adamstown, Maryland. Wally, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Yeah, Chris, I just wanted to tell people that Bill Barr misleads people every time he's interviewed. When he was doing the interviews for the book that he wrote and back after the election, he always says that he has not seen or heard anything that would have overturned the election. And the reason he says it that way is because he refuses to talk to anybody or to look at anything that would indicate that, so that he can't be called for lying. And I know that because the state's attorney from Pennsylvania said that he's personally tried to call Bill Barr's office and talk to him. He refuses to talk to him. He's tried to send him things. It never gets through to Bill Barr about the election, problems that they had in Philadelphia and all that. He refuses to look at anything. And then he misleads people by saying that he has never seen or heard anything.
You're cracking the Washington Weasel Code because the use and manipulation of language in Washington, D.C. is vitally important to all things. And we've got more examples of that. In fact, I've got more William Barr coming up and Alan Dershowitz and President Trump coming up, as well as transgender Tesla crashes, something like that. All right. Well, we have the big indictment and politics becoming completely Carmen Miranda banana hat wearing left-wing lunacy, and Joe Biden roams free, and Hunter Biden is out smoking crack with Russian hookers, and everything's okay. Millions of dollars from, I was going to say who knows where, but we do know where, and Ukraine and communist China and actors that are not on our side. So there's a lot to get to, and the Democrats, since I wasn't here on Friday, it's even longer for me because the last time I was on the air was noon Eastern time on Thursday on the radio, on Friday night on Newsmax as well, where I'll be tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Also, Elon Musk has a Twitter account. He tweeted something out that was a lot of fun on Friday. It's a woman who is pregnant. She has blonde hair. She has her hand on her belly. She's talking to a doctor. I can tell he's got a white lab coat and a tie, and he's got a stethoscope around his neck and a clipboard, and he's writing. And the nice pregnant lady says to the doctor, "Is it a boy or a girl?" She looks kind of excited. And the doctor says, "We'll let the kindergarten teacher decide." We'll let the kindergarten teacher decide, because that's where the Democrat Party is now. Also a fun one, the Babylon Bee. The Babylon Bee on Friday. The headline, a picture of President Trump up on stage with Hunter Biden standing next to him and waving. And the headline is, Trump names Hunter Biden as his running mate, so DOJ will stop investigating him. That'd do it, too. That would do it. And also a Democrat, a leader in the environmental movement, died on Friday as well. That was Saturday. I apologize. It was Saturday that the Unibomber, Ted Kaczynski, died. And he was, of course, a leader in the environmental movement. He was very upset about the environment, and that's why he blew people up with his letter bombs and things, because he really wanted his PhD, and he was having trouble getting it. So he started blaming the environment. He was very concerned about the environment, so he became the Unibomber. Also, if you looked real hard, you would have found the story from 1998 about the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, because Ted Kaczynski, according to the Washington Post and the psychiatrists at the time, here's the Washington Post piece on the Unabomber. Ted Kaczynski was a Democrat and an aspiring academic and an environmentalist. Not like the guy that set himself on fire in front of the Supreme Court last year on Earth Day. He was an environmentalist, too. He self-immolated like a Buddhist monk, and he's dead now. But here's the Washington Post headline from 1998. Gender confusion, sex change idea fueled Kaczynski's rage. They're all filled with rage, aren't they? And we had that transgender person attack the Christian school in Tennessee and murder those people, and the transgender guy go into Club Q in Colorado Springs and murder all those people. Yeah, so 1998, gender confusion and sex change idea fueled Kaczynski's rage. The psychological report was finally released, made public, and convicted Unabomber Theodore J. Kaczynski. Considered having a sex change operation when he was in his 20s. And his confusion over his gender identity filled him with rage that contributed to his bombing spree, according to documents released today, again in 1998. The new details about the mental health of Kaczynski, a Democrat. I added that to the Washington Post piece. They didn't have that. Who pleaded guilty in January to a string of terrorist bombings that killed 3 people and injured 23 others. Were part of a 47-page forensic evaluation ordered by U.S. District Judge Garland Burrell Jr. during Kaczynski's January trial, but they sat on it for ages at the Washington Post. The report was made public today in Sacramento. So there he is. He wanted, because he was a gender-confused environmentalist. That was the Unabomber. Now you know the rest of the story.
Imagine that!
That was the San Francisco City Council meeting when a transgender person had been killed while committing crimes, and that was a Democrat that went in there too. Just amazing stuff. Also, I don't know if you saw this, a transgender man, that is to say a woman who says he's a man, posted a video on Al Gore's Amazing Internet so other people could wallow in her misery and confusion. Trans man goes viral after getting emotional about the loneliness of being a man. See, this is a person who's, born a girl, grew up a girl, became a woman, then said, you know what, I think I want to be a man. started taking hormones and stuff. Now the lady has a beard. It's a bearded lady, which you used to find in the carnival. But Fox News had the story over the weekend about what we call a trans man, which is to say woman posing as a man. Trans man goes viral after getting emotional about the loneliness of life after gender transition. And the lady, a biological female, that means female, because when you're a biological female, you're a female. That's how that works. You can't just say, that you're a rhinoceros and suddenly you're a rhinoceros, because that's not how that works. A biological female turned trans man went viral this week after posting an emotional video about the loneliness of being a man. I'm reminded of Kim Jong-un, and it was actually Kim Jong-il in Team America World Police. And here is the person who honestly looks like a dude, has a beard, baseball cap, white T-shirt, made a video about, used to be a lady, and it was so nice then you could meet ladies in the ladies' room and you'd become instant friends. Now you're a man, a white man, a cisgender trans man. That's what, but not really. And walks down the street and people cross the street, a white guy, to get away because, the villain of the world is the straight white man, right? So here is the lady who says, I'm a dude, and James Barnes video first published on Instagram by James Barnes, a motivational speaker, stress management coach, social media influencer who claims to have transitioned from being a woman to being a man 8 years ago. Now listen to this motivational speaker and stress management coach who is a social media influencer.
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. I had closer friendships with random women I met in the bathroom before I transitioned at clubs because of how open women are than I've had.
Don't cry.
In my 8 years of transitioning.
8 years of... Now he's crying.
Because women are just so much more vulnerable and deep than men.
Apparently you
but
are.
But to have known, and I think a lot of trans men feel this, is we knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to have people want to hug us.
Want to hug us. Hug me, Michael.
And have people want to talk to us.
Michael and I are going to hug.
And have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you.
Just a guy. No, really, it's okay. It's the greatest thing in the world, actually. It's the most amazing. God, we discovered electricity, flight, instantaneous global communication, cure cancer. People think we're great. You got to hang out with me. Well, I don't want to hang out with you, but, and then she continued.
Friendships are so much harder to build. And people are colder. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid.
Marginalized groups, women and people who are in marginalized groups. And she walks down the street with a beard and people cross the street. Maybe it's because people intuitively, look at you and think, something funny going on there. I don't know what's good. Maybe it's because you're crying. Do you walk down the street sobbing and crying and saying you just want to meet ladies in the ladies' room? I think you can still use the ladies' room. You're just use the bearded ladies' room.
And I'm an emotionally mature man.
You are?
I know how to build friendships, and it is still really, really hard. Try to think about how you can, in your small little community where you feel safe, can reach out to the men in your life and just help them feel maybe seen for a moment. Or do little conversations to help their emotional maturity so that they can reach out to people and have deeper guy friendships.
Our emotional security is not really the issue here. I've got to say, if you asked me, now you got to keep in mind, as sad and tragic as all of this is, you got to laugh at it because what am I going to take on this person's burdens? You've made a mess of your life, and you're an emotional basket case, a mental basket case, and I feel sorry for you. but you're not on my list of problems and concerns. I've got to say, I've got some more immediate matters that I've got to take care of at home. But have a nice time and seek help by all means. That's pretty amazing. Maybe talk to the Unibomber's family or something like that, because that's keep in mind that the attempted suicide rate for transgender people is about 40%, about a 40%, slightly higher than 40% attempted suicide rate. And it's so hard being a man. But everybody keeps telling me how easy it is to be a white man. And then this white woman comes along with a beard and says it's the most difficult thing that she's ever taken on. And when she, disguised as a man, walks down the street, people cross the street to get away from what she says is him, right? And, I'm going to go get lunch now. Have a nice life. Because, woohoo.
Hey, baby. You ever had a chick with a beard before?
I can't say that I have there, bearded broad.
Well then, sugar, you haven't lived.
Note to self, I don't want to live.
Norm Macdonald. And honestly, the Democrat Party has done that to this woman. And the Democrat Party is trying to do that to millions of children across America.
I'm so lonely, so lonely, so lonely inside real room. There's no one, just me only.
Just me only.
Sitting on my little throne.
Sitting on my little throne.
I work very hard and make up great plans, but nobody listens, no one understands. Seems like no one takes me seriously.
Oh, he's Ronry.
And so, I'm Ronry. A little Ronry. Pour it on me.
Pour it on me. Poor Kim Jong. That was Kim Jong-il, not Kim Jong-un. That was Kim Jong-un's dad. And he gave the country to his son because communism, Also, the New York Post today, speaking of Democrats, controversial trans cyclist. This is a bicycle racing person. What do you mean controversial? There's a transgender cyclist, that is to say, a man who races as a woman, goes by the name Austin Killips, like Phillips, but Killips. Maybe kills people, I don't know. Austin Killips wins North Carolina race by 5 minutes. These races normally 3/100ths of a second, and here they come across the finish line. 5 minutes, took a swim, showered up, got a sandwich, waited for the first woman to arrive at the finish line. Controversial transgender cyclist Austin Killips has won a North Carolina bicycle race by a whopping 5 minutes, prompting the second place finisher, meaning the woman who won the race, to declare that her power was, quote, not comparable, end quote, suggesting a separate category for trans athletes. You know what? We have a separate category. It's called men's sports. You don't need yet another category. There are only two genders. Let's have men's sports and women's sports. Remember Title IX? Remember feminism? Remember when women mattered? Remember that? They got this Black Lives Matter thing, when then they ignore 9,900 murders a year. But how about women matter? We should have a # women matter. Maybe we should start that. Kevin, let's start # women matter. Because, they had that pound me too. Remember pound me too? We should do pound women matter. Father's Day is right around the corner. Get Dad what he really wants. Omaha steaks, perfectly aged, always tender, delicious, great stuff. When I was a kid, my neighbors used to get Omaha steaks delivered to their houses, and I would envy their steaks. I would smell them cooking in the backyard. We had to eat gruel, dirt sometimes, gravel, nothing at all. And now I get Omaha steaks delivered to my house. The Father's Day experts, they have Father's Day experts at Omaha Steaks, made it easy to put a smile on the big guy's face this summer with hand-selected packages. Head over to omahasteaks.com on Al Gore's amazing internet. Use the promo code PLANTE. That's me, Plante. Use that code at checkout and get $30 off your qualifying order because we hang out together. Packages can include fork tender bacon wrap filet mignon, other gourmet grillables, air-chilled boneless chicken breast burgers, jumbo delicious hot dogs, and a whole lot more favorites. Don't forget to save room for dessert because most gift packages come with 4 delicious caramel apple tartlets. I'm getting hungry just talking about it. Go to omahasteaks.com. Use the promo code PLANT at checkout and save $30 American off an unforgettable gift package guaranteed to make Dad's day. Because if there's one thing we know, it's that dads want steaks. That's omahasteaks.com. The promo code is PLANT at checkout. A minimum order is required. See site for details. Yes, sir. Yeah, and then this guy goes home with the trophy from the ladies' bicycle race, and he won by 5 minutes. And he showered up and had a sandwich, and he's in the jacuzzi, and then the first woman arrived, and he's proud of himself. Now, the latest report is that Ted Kaczynski, the Unibomber, apparently committed suicide. I saw natural causes the other day. Now they're saying suicide. If he was going to do that, they should have let him out to self-immolate in front of the Supreme Court, which is more traditional environmentalist method, I think. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Matt calling from New York, New York. Matthew, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Well, hi, Chris. It is an honor to speak with you. Thank you.
You're very kind. Welcome.
I'm glad to be here. You really are the Elvis Presley of talk radio. Oh, my gosh. No, not to throw you into a bad category or anything, but you are on fire today. But that's typical with you. I mentioned to talk or the call screener that I wanted to mention a couple things to you, but first I'd like to propose something to this chick who wants to be a man. Us, by default, members of the Club Masculine, could we make a rite of passage? Like, you got to bait a hook with an earthworm or something before you can really call yourself a man?
Got to get kicked in the gonads in 6th grade or something, too.
There you go. There you go. I like that.
By a guy who's beating you up. I'm running out of time on you. You got a few seconds, but only a few seconds left.
Oh, well, I don't know what to hit first. You were so adept at handling just in time and disagreeing with him. And no insult intended, but I've never heard a politician do it any better than you.
I like Justin. I've known him for a long time, and I like him.